Now coming up next, please join me in welcoming on stage Mr. Arun Bruce, Partner and Managing Director of Boston Consulting Group, our knowledge partner, who will release an exclusive report on 10 game-changing trends disrupting retail, followed by a presentation on the report highlights.
Morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here at this fairly power-packed, cozy setting. And just a little bit of a backstory. When Amitabh and Lawrence and Roop approached us about a few weeks ago and asked us to write a report on the future of retail, we said, there is so much disruption going on in the retail industry. Here's a slide that, sometimes shocks a few of us. Mall closures and traditional retail closures are at an all-time high. So predicting the future is almost impossible, and anybody who claims to do so is probably trying to pull a fast one. But what we have attempted to do in the report that should be with you shortly is to talk about 10 key trends that we believe will be material, at least in the next 5 years, right? And beyond that is anybody's guess. How rapidly these trends will advance, one can make an educated guess, but again, there is a little bit of probability there as well. And these 10 trends that you will see in this report vary from ones that have been around for the last 4 to 5 years, but are strengthening, and ones that are really just out there in the horizon, but promise a lot of disruption. And you will see this when you get the report shortly. What we have is 3 to 4 pages on each of the trends that talk of what some of the world-leading consumer players and retailers are doing on that trend, and also a few questions for you to think about for each trend. And right at the end of the report, we bring it all together to say, what does it mean for you, and how do you think about digesting all of those facts and making it relevant for your company, right? So we hope you enjoy reading the report, and what I will attempt to do, in the next 15 minutes or so is to give you a flavor of, each of the trends. So let me start. Trend number 1 is Omnichannel, right? And this is an example of a trend that has been around for the last 3 to 4 years, ever since the entire digital wave caught our attention. What really is Omnichannel? In a sense, 2 things. On the one hand, a unified view of the customer, a unified identity, so you actually know how the customer behaves online, offline, and across different places, so you can serve him or her better. The second pillar of Omnichannel is transparency on inventory. You know right down to an SKU level how your inventory is doing across different stock points in retail. So with both of these pillars, you can actually serve the customer better, have a much leaner supply chain, and at a lower cost. Now, this trend, as I said, has been around for a while, and many leaders, many of you, I'm sure, are already tapping this. But the reason we wanted to start off with this right up front is this is no more just a novelty. To us, this is a table stake. So if you as an operator are not doing enough to have a single view of the customer who walks into your store with enough of a view of what he's been doing online, then you're probably missing something. If you don't have full visibility of how your inventory is doing across online and offline channels with at least some ability to move some of that, then you're missing something. If you don't have a click and collect service in at least some of your stores where the customer can place an order online and hopefully collect it on his way home from his or her office, then more often than not, you're missing out on an opportunity. And there are many of your peers, and again, these are more examples from other markets outside of UAE that we put together in order to spur thinking, who are already doing a lot. John Lewis is one. They have a click and collect services that is very well regarded across 5,000 plus establishments. Hunkemoller, which is a lingerie brand, is another. They have perfect inventory visibility, the ability to move their inventory and respond to consumer demand. So that's trend number 1. Trend number 2 is what we call personalization. Now, what is personalization? It is the ability to provide a unique experience to every customer. How do you do that? You do that by deploying analytics on the customer behavior data. How do you get customer behavior data? Through the app that hopefully he has on his phone that is of your store, through creating a unique identity of how he behaves when he's on Twitter or on Facebook. Then you put it all together, you know how he or she is behaving. This is a more recent trend, and I give you two examples of companies that are making a lot of money on this trend. There is one which is hopefully a popular name with many of you, which is Netflix. Netflix makes 80% of its money and profit from personalized recommendations that it serves up. So it has a content delivery network with cached inventory very close to where you're located so that your download speeds are very high. And on the basis of what you've already seen or what your family has seen, it serves up the recommendations, and that's where it makes most of its money. Another example from a more classic brick-and-mortar retail company is Starbucks. Over the last 3 years, and we've been honored to be part of this journey, Starbucks has completely revamped the way it's targeting its own customers with specific offers. 3 years ago, the traditional channel of sending offers used to be email. So it used to have a set of 12 offers that you used to update every few months, and it used to send out based on a classical segmentation approach, based on the email databases that it had. Now, with just about every Starbucks customer having his or her own app, and with all the customer data that's thrown up, you pretty much have seamless offers that are real time. So a customer walks into the store, Beacon picks up his or her presence, and then offers up, knowing that he or she has had a Frappuccino the last 2 times, knows what other drinks the person is likely to try, or other things that the person should buy in order to expand the basket, and serves up an offer right then and there. And with this big data, it's also able to almost create a segment of one. So instead of 12 standard offers going out to its customer base, it now has pretty much hundreds of thousands of offers that's actually going out. So that's trend number 2. Trend number 3 is what we call customization. Now, how is customization different from personalization? Personalization is about the retailer offering up a unique experience. Customization is the power with the customer to customize what he wants to buy. A piece of furniture, a shoe, or a t-shirt. Why is this a hot trend now? One, clearly a lot of the digital technologies and the digital wave that we've just been talking about has made it easier. Second is what you see on this slide. The cost of 3D printing has halved over the last 3 to 4 years. 3D printers at scale are far more efficient. There are newer technologies in terms of 3D printing inks. There are newer businesses coming up which set up 3D farms. You could very soon have a 3D farm, in Jebel Ali that prints everything from t-shirts to jeans at a customer's request. I mean, it's probably some way out, but it's not too hard to imagine that it's likely to be true. So with the digital wave happening on the one hand, and with 3D printing happening on the other, the ability to actually provide customized products to your consumers is actually real and already happening. Who's doing it? Nike, with its Nike ID, is starting to do it. Of course, it's a small part of their revenue now, but it builds their brand. It's profitable, and it's fast growing. Adidas, with its Speeds factory, is trying out something very similar. Lego is using it for 2 purposes. One is to obviously provide you a customized experience. The second is to also crowdsource ideas. So if you have Lego bricks and designs that are interesting for you, chances are that it's also likely to feature in the next assortment. So that's trend number 3. Trend number 4, and this is one of our favorites at BCG, is what you call word of mouth or advocacy. We live in an era where the trust on what brands have to say about themselves is at an all-time low. So classical advertising levers are slowly losing their efficacy, and people are more and more relying on what their peers and friends and family have to say. We all know this. I mean, we typically adopt this whenever we go out to shop. We ask a friend, and we trust him or her a lot more than what the advertising message has to say. The challenge has always been, how do you make money out of this trend, right? And Over the last few years, there's been a lot of scientific research that is now coming to the fore and helping marketers all around that brings science behind this entire word-of-mouth thinking, right? And in a sense, what it says is just about 2% of your segment are what you call influencers. And there's empirical evidence to say why it's not 5 or 10 or 0%. So 2%, let's say, is the magic number. What does this 2% do? This 2% loves to talk. So these are the typical, mothers who drop their kids who love to chat on the WhatsApp group in the moms group. These are, if you look at the entire art community, these are the exhibition hall managers whom people congregate around, who have access to others and who love displaying their knowledge. So the first challenge is to identify the influencer subsegment within your community. Having done that, the next, which is probably more obvious, is to then set out building a relationship with them. And there are different ways of building a relationship. Social media gives you more intuitive ways of reaching out to them. There's one powerful lever that many brands have started using, which is to put something counterintuitive out there with these influencer groups, right? And why counterintuitive? Because these groups like to talk. If they see something counterintuitive but positive about that brand, then the buzz spreads, right? One example here is about Tylenol. Tylenol is nothing but paracetamol. We all take it in different forms and different brand names when there is a body ache. But this is a brand that went out there and said, I want to remove the association that my brand has with pain or with nuisance, remove the negative connotation. And the way it did that was to create an entire advertising campaign around pain is fun, great pain, great art, worked with people who experience pain, athletes, who are the core of that 2%, street dancers, it sponsored street festivals, right? And got them to start talking about this. And then all of a sudden, it became viral. This new association started building, and the momentum started building on itself because this 2% loves to talk. So that's trend number 4, which is advocacy or word of mouth. Trend number 5 is what we call showrooming. Just as we were entering, a very good friend of mine said, Amazon is going 360 degrees around and setting up its pop-up stores all over the world. But guess what? Amazon is not alone in doing this. Every e-commerce player worth his or her salt is actually realizing that their customer is not changing their buying behavior as quickly as they wanted him or her to do. People still want to touch and feel. People still want to explore. And as a result of this, all of these big e-commerce companies have started setting up showrooms. The showrooms could be ones where there's no inventory to sell, where you just come there to experience the brand, or where there's limited inventory to sell, but the focus is still on experience. So Amazon is, of course, one that does it. There are many who've started doing this. Zivame Lingerie. Zivame is a big online lingerie brand in India. Over the last 2 years, they've set up tens of stores for customers to experience their inventory. Casper mattresses in the US have set up show apartments where you can come in and touch and feel the mattress, lie down and have a look and then place an order. So that's another trend that's fast happening around the world. A related trend is what we call small is beautiful, the trend of smaller, more inspired stores. And this is happening because of a set of reasons. First, footfalls are decreasing in traditional retail across the world. Prime real estate prices are either holding up or increasing. And at the same time, there is a huge need for differentiation with the shopper. You need to provide some entertainment. You need to engage him or her, both for your brand and both to just expand his wallet, his basket on that particular day. So with all of these coming together, 2 things are happening. One, traditional consumer companies and retail companies are providing services within their store. More inspiration, drive greater engagement with the brand. The second thing that's happening is classic smaller store. Decathlon, big boxes that you typically associate with. Now there are many smaller ones around. Target, again, smaller stores. Nordstrom, department stores. You buy a little bit, you experience, you have a nail spa there as well. So that's another trend that's fast catching up for various different reasons across different geographies. Trend number 7 which is again been around for a while, but it's now starting to accelerate, is mobile payment. Now again, why is mobile payment a hot trend? Because of multiple reasons. A, it makes the customer's experience on store far more seamless. B, it reduces the skill level requirement at the checkout counter. So it makes it easier for you to staff up your stores potentially. It also makes the customer far more engaged. The big challenge with mobile payment, which could also be an opportunity, is that the future is yet being scripted as we speak. There is no single mobile platform that's proven itself. So most players are keeping their options open in terms of tying up with different players, and that's probably the right thing to do now. But sooner or later, there will be consolidation, and this will also, take off in a big way. Trend number 8 is what we call instant supply chain. Zara pioneered fast fashion concept many years ago. Many others have tried to follow, some successfully, some not so successfully. Now, the Zara model with predictive analytics being possible because of artificial intelligence on the one hand, and 3D printing, etc. happening on the other hand, creates a whole new range of options. You don't now need to only have your factories in China. You can have your factories closer home at probably just a fraction of a cost higher. But that fraction of a cost compared with the lean inventory that you actually end up having makes it much easier for you to probably decide on the one closer home. 3D printing we talked about as something that's already happening. So all of these sub-trends are creating a playing field where inventory is low. You can pretty much satisfy any customer, drive fulfillment, even if not then and there at the store, hopefully a few days down the line right at his home. So this is another trend which we believe is fast catching up. An example that we love to talk about is Brandix. Brandix is a large Sri Lankan apparel manufacturer. They are one of Victoria's Secret's largest suppliers from across the world. They have a order to store time of 10 days. The store is in East Coast in the US. The factories are in Sri Lanka or in India. So from the moment your stocks go down, the entire production process is triggered. You keep the fabric, the gray fabric ready. It's dyed, cut, and sewn, and it's flown. So within 10 to 12 days, you're right there. You don't necessarily need to stock up. It's a fraction of cost higher because you're air freighting it and stuff, but it's also lightweight. It's a high-priced garment, so it doesn't really make a difference. So this is again starting to happen in a big way as we think about it. Trend number 9 is robots in stores. And this is again starting to happen sooner than we think. So if you think of automation more broadly in a store, there are various aspects that can be automated within a store. The customer getting his bearings right, which is in-store navigation, geofencing and RFID tags. That is one space where it's happening. Kiosks that respond to you and robots. There is this robot you may want to Google. It's called Lowbot, Lowebot, in Lowe's, which is well known for its ability to interact with customers and engage with them. So that's starting to happen. Endless aisles where you can browse online inventory and you can place orders then and there. Smart shelves, augmented and virtual reality, stockroom automation. The entire material handling headache in stores is now being taken away. So there's a lot happening on the automation front as well. The most cool and exciting one, of course, being having a robot, serve you in the retail counter, but a lot more that's also happening behind the scenes. And this will fundamentally transform the number of people you need in a store and the nature of skills that they actually have to possess. The last trend, which is one that's still out there, but we believe it warrants a mention here, is drones. Every logistics company or delivery company that's worth its salt is investing in exploring this area. Today, where we are is drone as a flight technology, as an engineering technology, is fairly advanced. What is not yet there is the regulatory side of it. But every player is actually working together to get the regulations actually sorted out. And the moment it gets sorted out, you will all of a sudden see drones flying around, getting deliveries, before you know it. And this, again, is something which we believe will transform the nature of retail. It will make retail more at home rather than in the stores. It will reduce the cost over a period of time. It will improve predictability and quality of deliveries over a period of time. So those were a set of 10 trends that are out there which we believe is happening. Now, we don't claim that this is comprehensive, right? This is our view of what's happening around the world. Challenges, happy to be challenged and learn. But after some soul searching, we believe that these are a few which will certainly, change things over the next 5 years. I'm running out of time, so maybe over the last couple of minutes. So what does this really mean for you? The first thing that we would suggest is, while a lot of this is happening outside, the key question that you have to ask for yourself is, how am I innovating my business, right? And as you think about this question, it's useful to keep in mind that not everyone needs to be the next big Apple, right? Not everyone needs to be the next Google. And there are different innovation models which we believe as BCG exist out there. So you need to first decide, are you the Apple or the Google type? Or are you the fast follower? Are you the China or the Reckitt Benckiser of the world? Or are you the Zara or the Amazon of the world who has a well-patented, tried and tested model that you're just rolling out after category after category, market after market? And this is an important question to ask yourself before you start, going out there and trying to, ingest all the trends and changing the way you do business. This is fundamental. Having done that, there are 3 no-regret moves that we would recommend all to think about. Fairly obvious, but I will still repeat it. The first is to find innovative ways to listen to customers. It's always been there. This is commonsensical, but like common sense, it's actually rare. The number of senior managers who actually spend time listening to their customers is less and less the more complex the organization is. Today, with social listening, you get a bit of a leg in. You get technology to do a little bit of the work for you. But good old levers like talking to your sales force, spending time in the store has never been as important as it is today. Second, build innovation capabilities in your team structurally. Recruit right. Give them license to fail. Break silos. Last but not the least, constantly challenge and rethink your business model. Because somebody out there, some startup kid out of MIT with a bag full of VC money is probably already doing that. Thank you. We hope you enjoy reading the report. Have a good day.